This is Luke Paulson, the Catholic Conservative, and welcome to the news of the week for June 14th, 2025. And if you enjoy these videos, do not forget to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe for more. The Dragon in action. I may as well start with the biggest story. President Donald Trump and Elon Musk were in the middle of a major spat. When Elon Musk was the head of the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, one of the main liberal talking points was how much money the country could save by not having his contracts. Naturally, it would be a poor business idea to cancel one's own contracts. However, Musk knew that President Trump wanted to cancel the electric vehicle credits for a long time. This was not a sudden move by the president. Just as with Rand Paul, Musk has made some good points about the national debt. But then Musk went overboard by bringing up the Epstein list. It even got so bad that Musk threatened to stop the use of the SpaceX Dragon, making America depend on Russia to restock the International Space Station. However, as of the writing of this script, not only has he decided to keep it operational, but Musk has apologized for taking his tweets too far. That last detail is important. It makes me think that all of this has some planning behind it. Just like YouTube channels that create a feud, but in reality they are using it to boost both of their respective channels. I would not be surprised if these two men planned this. Now, President Trump has done a lot of good, but Democrats just do not want to admit that. The criminal readmitted. Last week I decided to talk about the double standard between how Democrats treated the illegal, Abrego Garcia, and how they treated the mostly peaceful protesters of January 6th. While editing the video, Garcia was brought out of his country of origin and brought to America to stand trial. The joys of editing weekly videos. I would like to point out that this illegal even has his own Wikipedia page about his case. Granted, just this short sample that you see on screen has several lies, but that is another topic for another day. There are a lot of illegal things that he is accused of doing while in America, and that is in no way limited to being a member of a known terrorist organization. There are also the domestic violence charges that his wife accused him of. And here I thought we were supposed to believe all women. Remember after Justice Brett Kavanaugh was slandered and the entire liberal media dogpiled on him?
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Now recall that there was neither any proof nor witnesses, but liberals still believed it. Garcia's wife filed paperwork with the police about his domestic violence. Yet the same people who wanted Kavanaugh hung without evidence are willing to sit down and have lunch with Garcia. I am trying to find the logic here. These illegals get in without background checks, and some are even on terror watch lists. The CCP's Fungus. During the pandemic, the Biden administration infamously let in countless people across our porous southern border. However, not one of these people were tested for the deadliest virus known to humanity. Again, this is without mentioning the unknown numbers of people who were on international terror watch lists. Not to mention the Chinese nationals who built a bioweapons lab in California. The only reason that we know about the latter is because of the team of James O'Keefe. More on him in a little bit. Moving on, now 2 Chinese nationals have been arrested for potential agro-terrorism. They are charged with trying to release a deadly fungus that kills crops indiscriminately called Fusarium graniarum. This same fungus can also affect animals and even humans. This bioweapon could have destroyed the economy and countless lives. How many such weapons made it across the border under Alejandro Mayorkas?
The world may never know.
China is not the only authoritarian state that is a threat to world peace. Gaza is honestly just as bad in many respects. Planned lies about Gaza, CNN, and the Washington Post are 2 very important branches of Operation Mockingbird. Operation Mockingbird is here to remind you to never question the official narrative. Both outlets published stories saying that Israel attacked Gazan civilians, but in actuality, it was Hamas. From what I can tell, the attacks were even potentially done by Hamas. And from what I can tell, it seems that the attacks done by Israel were not even at the location in question. The fake news has been showing us footage of what was destroyed by the Israeli Defense Force, or IDF. And so I wonder, is that footage trustworthy? Neither of these 2 networks has a stellar reputation, and this just makes it worse. So is anything that they reported about the attacks, battles, or the war in general trustworthy? I do not want to make any such blanket statement, but it would not be outside the realm of possibility. We have an entire media ecosystem that is anti-Israel on one side, and a subset of the media who think that Israel can do no wrong on the other side. Both cannot be true, and neither side may even be right. Likewise, are the things that the media is reporting about the war in Ukraine even trustworthy? Recall again that O'Keefe got media executives to admit that they manipulate which stories are shown to control public outrage. And again, I will get to O'Keefe in a little bit. Furthermore, since Ukraine is an oligarchy, their media is probably even less trustworthy than ours. The mainstream media in America is the very opposite of trustworthy. They are even resurrecting the lie about President Trump trying to keep non-whites out of America. Cutting off entry. During his first term in office, President Trump cut off travel from several Middle Eastern countries. This was called the Trump Muslim ban by the fake news. However, these were countries that the Obama administration found to be the most dangerous. Now, President Trump, after seeing the abominable actions in Colorado, decided that some countries were too dangerous. His staff put together a list of 12 countries that now have complete travel bans, and 7 others with partial travel bans. The countries are primarily in Africa and the Middle East. However, they also have something else in common. These countries largely do not vet people, or do not share information about terrorists, or are known to be state sponsors of terrorism themselves. If the fake news is right this time, and President Trump is cutting off immigration to countries with primarily non-white people, he missed a lot of countries. Unlike liberals, conservatives judge people based on the content of their character rather than the content of their melanin. That is the way that it should be. Now, speaking of immigration, let us see what happens when sanctuary cities are forced to follow the law. LA riots are fiery.
It could turn very volatile if you move law enforcement in there in the wrong way and turn what is just a bunch of people having fun watching cars burn.
Yes, that was an actual quote from an ABC affiliate. Remember when Black Crimes Matter was marching through the streets, burning down buildings, and the media called them fiery but mostly peaceful?
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
The clip at the opening of this segment was in response to President Trump sending in the National Guard to deal with people rioting over immigration and customs enforcement raids. NBC says that there were 1,700 such guardsmen and 700 Marines in this abominable city. They are there to protect ICE from the people who resist a lawful order of President Trump. I really do not see why people are fighting this order. The only ones who should be opposing it are the illegals themselves, who have no legal standing, and the people who get elected because of the illegals voting for them. Now this liberal talking point is making me sick. Speaking of which, having to listen to Biles. Simone Biles has decided that boys competing against girls and men competing against women is now perfectly acceptable. This is despite her being against this nonsense in the past. The liberal pathogen has slowly been working on her heart and mind since then. She has recently gained the attention of Riley Gaines, who has been drawing attention to this growing problem. Why do so many men who transition to women go from last place to first place overnight? For the same reason that women who are at the top of their field do not transition to men and stay in first place. There are biological differences such as muscle mass, bone density, and lung capacity that greatly helps in athletic events. Not that the people who believe that men can get pregnant actually care. Now from Biles, the mockingbird asset who should be ignored, let us go to a journalist who should be listened to. James O'Keefe has won. O'Keefe is working to reobtain all of the resources of Project Veritas after he was outed by the organization that he started. Recall a few weeks ago that I talked about this, and I showed that the same people who kicked him out had potential vested interest in the medical industrial complex. And the last major story was exposing said medical industrial complex. Now the current and/or former heads of Project Veritas do not like that James O'Keefe is exposing this conflict of interest. And so, they took him to court to try and silence him. However, O'Keefe has won in court. I do not know if he will get his company back, but I will try to not give up hope. In the meantime, O'Keefe is still breaking stories, such as this one about CNN that will only surprise liberals. Jake Tapper knew all along. Pablo Parada, a stage manager at CNN, spilled the beans on Jake Tapper. Mr. Parada claims to have met Joe Biden twice, once during the Obama administration and even during his own campaign, and admitted that he could tell the decline in mental acuity, something that could have been revealed during the campaign. but that would not only require being an honest journalist, but it would have also risked helping Donald Trump, which is of course a problem for the fake news. As we know, the fake news is so scared of him making America great again that they cannot risk helping him. As such, they abandon principles that they never had to lie to the American people about what we could see with our own eyes. Now let us move on to a lie from secular scientists concerning the value of each and every human life. Only some life is valued. Etienne Emile Boullou created the single most deadly drug on the face of the earth. It has killed more people than tobacco, alcohol, and fentanyl combined. Naturally, that is a very bold claim that I am making, but it all depends on how you define words. The secular world has decided that life only has value if the child is desired by the mother. However, they believe that if the mother does not want her child, infanticide is acceptable. If she does want her child, only then can he be protected. Boullou created a drug that keeps the embryo from binding to the uterine wall, in essence, starving the child to death at about 1 to 2 weeks. We spend billions of dollars trying to stop world hunger, but give mothers drugs to starve their children.
Ironic.
Now Boullou is dead and has to stand before God and face righteous judgment. My heart breaks, not only for all of the children whom he has killed, but also for all of the mothers who were misled into killing their children. If you have taken any drug or procedure to end a pregnancy, do not forget that the power of Christ Jesus is all-encompassing. Meanwhile, Democrats do not seem to understand why they are losing supporters, but I am sure that it has nothing to do with them rejecting science. A waste of $20 million. Speaking with American Men was a $20 million initiative by the Democratic Party to learn one thing. Why are so many men, especially low-melanin men, not flocking to the Democratic Party? Even CNN is willing to admit that immigrants are voicing support for President Trump and his border policies. Maybe that is because they came here legally and do not want the illegals to bring their failed countries up here. Of course, that is just a guess on my part. However, when it was all said and done, what did they find out? According to Politico, men feel ignored. While I could have told the Democrats this for free, I am glad that they wasted their money. When you blame everyone with a certain chromosome configuration or a certain melanin concentration for all of the problems in the country, none of these groups will like you. In essence, the Democrats have been demonizing one group so much that they were driven away. The problem is that you need to call out the ideology more than the person. If you argue with pathos or emotion, your argument will be received immediately, but may not last. If you argue with logos or logic, your argument may not be received immediately, but it will probably last. Now, with all of the dense news that happens, I want to end with something funny. Thunberg on a plane. Now, the fact that Greta Thunberg was sent back to Europe on a plane should not be as funny as it is. It is funny because she believes that CO2 will destroy all of humanity, even though more CO2 means more plant growth. I can only imagine what she said when it was revealed that she would be put on a plane. It was probably,
"How dare you!"
Moving on, she was trying to distribute aid in the middle of a war zone that was brought on by Hamas. Hamas would undoubtedly steal the aid, being a terrorist state that attacks its neighbors for no practical reason, and does not allow people to dissent from their political standpoint. The world does not need more angry activists. We have more than enough of those, if you ask me. We need more people who support peace and do not launch missiles into urban centers, dig tunnels underneath homes, or kidnap hundreds of civilians during a celebration, all the while bragging about it. Now Israel is distributing aid because Hamas is too busy buying missiles to give out proper aid. I read one report that said that Israel is helping the civilians at no cost to them, whereas Hamas was charging. Make no mistake, the aid that Thunberg and her cohorts were bringing would have been stolen by Hamas. Now, there is oversight. Maybe I'm just blowing smoke. Maybe I'm completely off my rocker, but that is just my opinion. And do not forget to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe for more. But before you go, on the left I have last week's video, but you may also enjoy the video on the right.